Look up.
Behind its reputation, The Exorcist is, at its very core, an extremely well-crafted film. While it might be easy to conclude that the shock value alone is what makes it memorable, its artistic edge, subtle implications, and avant-garde style filmmaking also sets it drastically apart from the majority of other horror films at the time. With his direction of The Exorcist, William Friedkin achieved a masterful balance between stark authenticity and moments of dramatic, heightened reality. Throughout the film, we are forced to confront the events of the story as if we are a part of it. The intense use of close-ups, subliminal frames, near-constant camera movement and perpetual bombardment of sound creates a very uneasy, claustrophobic atmosphere. One of my favourite things about the film is how it sounds. The clanging hammers of the dig site, the screeching machinery of the medical scenes, and the loud clamours of the city contrast with the guttural wheezing of the demon. The entire sound design, carefully orchestrated by Friedkin and his expansive sound department, is so integral to creating a lasting atmosphere. As an example, let's take a look at the sparse opening sequence set in northern Iraq, which is incredibly effective in creating an ominous tension predominantly through the use of ambient sound. The strange flurry of discordant rhythms, underscored by chanting, murmuring, and the distant echo of the Islamic call to prayer, presents an alien landscape to Western audiences, aided by the camera which pans, zooms, and tracks in a surge of movement only to then cut abruptly to static angles. As Merrin looks up upon the imposing statue of his enemy, the aggressive snarls and barks of a pack of dogs alludes to the bestial growls that will later erupt from Regan's mouth. The crossfade from this feral sound, coupled with the music's rising strings, into the suburban drone of Georgetown traffic, instantly signifies to the audience what will become one of the most prevalent themes of the story: the uneasy disparity between the modern setting of the characters and the archaic, exotic realm from which the evil that antagonises them arises.
Is it Captain Howdy?
Moments of total silence or lack of prominent sound are also used to full effect, not just in the more quiet, contemplative scenes, but in some of the film's most horrific sequences. During the exorcism itself, for example, you'll notice the entire soundtrack is completely diegetic. There's no music, no heightened sound effects, just the sounds of the room and the action to ground the unearthly events in reality. At other points in the film, the soundtrack is brazenly non-diegetic. It frequently applies aural motifs, such as the disturbing drone of bees or echoes from the excavation site, to remind us of the primitive evil's relentless infiltration into the modern world. The intricate sound design is, without a doubt, one of the film's most prominent and memorable characteristics. That is not to say, however, that the visuals are in any way lacking artistic significance. Much of the film's imagery is instantly recognisable for its aesthetic mix of raw naturalism and refined, sophisticated composition. A great deal of the horror is arguably heightened by how much the visuals resemble reality. The cinematography is very clearly influenced by documentary, giving each scene a three-dimensionality that a lot of horror films exchange for a more conventionally cinematic style. The film does find moments, however, to present its audience with more striking compositions removed from reality, and instead utilise lighting, framing, and careful placement of the actors to create a powerful visual resonance. The most obvious example is the now iconic frame of Father Merrin, silhouetted against the McNeil household. The powerfully atmospheric shot slowly follows the cab as it drifts through the evening fog towards the house. Dark figure of Merrin steps out, and as the vehicle drives away, we are left with a dazzling image in which he is seemingly suspended in a beam of light emitted from Regan's bedroom. It inspires a haunting sense of mystery, anxiety, and anticipation for what's to come. The sharp contrast, minimal colour palette, and heavy use of shadow imbues the shot with an expressionist, almost painting-like quality that makes the ethereal moment all the more memorable. Quite often, the cinematography very delicately weaves in thematic ideas and concepts using the frame as a visual metaphor. For instance, the themes of incarceration and alienation are implied throughout the film, often subtly, with many scenes incidentally framing characters behind or through bars, fences, or grating. We are reminded not just of Reagan's imprisonment within her own body, but of Chris's internal conflict as she struggles to seek answers, and Damien's disconnect from his faith. This is where the film excels tonally, not through a gratuitous bombardment of pictorial images for the sake of art, but through a careful measure of understated visual signifiers which place us within the characters' worlds.